And now, on this Sunday, we come to the Gospel, which is the Gospel of St. Mark, chapter 6, verses 1 to 6. This is the theme. It's because of the theme in the Gospel that we had the theme earlier, Ezekiel, where God told him himself, they look on you as a singer of ballads. They love to hear you talk. Oh, isn't he beautiful? They're not going to do a thing you say. You know? Now here's Jesus in the same kind of a situation, except that because of the text, we have some key issues. Who are these brothers and sisters of Jesus? And issues like that I hope to touch on briefly, because they're kind of important. So, he went out, it says, and came to his native place, accompanied by his disciples. And when the Sabbath came, he began to teach in the synagogue. And many who heard him were astonished. They said, where did this man get all this? What kind of wisdom has been given him? What mighty deeds, you see, are wrought by his hands? This can't be right. Isn't this not the carpenter, the son of Mary, and the brother of James and Joseph and Judas and Simon? Are not his sisters here with us? In other words, he's one of us. So they took offense at him. Keep this guy cut down to size. You know? Don't let him get too big. Why? Well, they'd be jealous for one thing. But then the other reason is, what he's telling us, we don't want to pay attention to. So we've got to make him less than he is. You see? So, and they took offense at him. Jesus said, this is a proverb, a prophet is not without honor, except in his native place and among his own kin and in his own house. That's a proverb. It's true. We just, all the texts we've been looking at so far verify that, right? They thought Ezekiel was nuts. They like to hear him talk. They're not going to do a thing he says. You see? Paul, you know, they like all these flashy charismatics who come flying through. But a guy that's going to teach the power of the cross, the beauty of God, what we're called to know the love and affection of the Father, and give our lives to him, and make up in our own body what's brought into the sufferings of Christ for the sake of his church, they don't want to hear that. They want to be entertained. That's the preacher's occupational hazard. Be there, get up there, and be popular. No, get up there and then duck. You know? If you love those people, you will. Okay. So, he came to his native place accompanied by his disciples. And so they're all, you know, who is this guy? A prophet is not without honor except in his native place and among his own kin and in his own house. So he was not able to perform any mighty deed there, apart from curing a few sick people by laying his hands on them. And he was amazed at their lack of faith. And the word, you know, would lead to that ethaufmasen. But he's more than amazed. I mean, he's hurt. These are the kids he grew up with. These are his, you know, his relatives. The close relatives seem to have stuck with him. But they're part of the, you know, these sisters and brothers, I'm going to try to point out, they're probably children of Joseph by a previous marriage. After all the ink that's been spilled, that seems to be the winner opinion of it. Certainly, the church would not be preaching for 2 millennia that Mary was a virgin before conception, in giving birth, and always, unless it were true. The Lord would not let the church go wrong on that one. So, left us with a problem. Well, problems are blessed, you know, because, as Augustine says, if the whole Scriptures were easy to understand, we'd read it and say, I got it, and never change. When you have to work at it, then you say, oh boy, there's something really here. And so, you see, their faith was such that his own power, in some, he could have overcome it, but was stymied. He's in his own hometown. He wants to tell them about the Father. He wants to heal their sick, patch up their marriages. He wants to help them. He's too familiar. You know this guy. He grew up, I remember when he was that big. You know? If it's familiar, if it's dramatic, if he had parachuted down from Mars, ooh, they would have listened. But that the living, eternal Son of God is among them as a neighbor, no. That's the irony, isn't it? And so, the temptation is to be flashy, so people will pay attention. Don't do it. Don't do it. Leave it up to God. You know? Padre Pio performed sensational miracles. But by the time he was doing that, he had the stigmata. He was suffering all the time. All the adulation in the world wouldn't have made a dent on him, because he knew the Lord, and he knew his own weakness. And as Paul says, and I gladly carry these things in my body, so that the power of the Lord will be made manifest. And so, that's what's going on there, you see. And so, that's Nazareth, his own hometown, where he grew up, where he played with the other kids. Imagine that. This is God, playing with other kids. Incarnation is real. He was born from a woman's womb, nursed at her breasts, carried around, because he couldn't walk. That's the humility of God. So, first, a word about Mary's perpetual virginity, and then rapid discussion of who are these brothers and sisters and so forth. What I have here are some lines from the Catholic Catechism. I'm trying to start at a place. The deepening of faith in the virginal motherhood, this is number 499 in the Catechism, led the Church to confess Mary's real and perpetual virginity, even in the act of giving birth to the Son of God made man. In fact, Christ's birth did not diminish his mother's virginal integrity, but sanctified it. And so the liturgy of the Church celebrates Mary as Ai Parthenos, ever virgin. It's a privilege to be a virgin, totally given over to God. It's not given to everybody because it would be the end of the population. And not only virgins are saints. Augustine's a saint because his mother was a saint. And his mother, who gave him birth in the old-fashioned way, through natural intercourse and natural birth, but she was holy. So she gave him birth in the Spirit. Otherwise we wouldn't have an Augustine. It's a great vocation to be a mother and a father, and to fight for your children's integrity, which is getting tougher and tougher. Okay. So, I'm just going to read another number. This is 501 from the Catechism. Jesus is Mary's only son, but her spiritual motherhood extends to all men. Her spiritual motherhood. She's the mother of everybody. You see? Whom, indeed, he came to save. And then a quote. The Son whom she brought forth is he whom God placed as the firstborn among many brethren. That is, the faithful, in whose generation and formation she cooperates with a mother's love. That's a great mystery, but it's a fact. And if you don't know the Mother of God, go introduce yourself. Talk to her. Get to know her. Because she is a sweet incense. She's such a... And to have her as a friend, to know her, is such a marvelous thing. And it helps you in your Christian life. Because you know you've got somebody who loves you like that, cares for you like that, and she does. And she doesn't get confused or worn out caring for a couple of more million. It'll be okay by her. But it's important to get to know her. Now, just I'm going to read 3 more of these. Whoop, I won't. Because I want to move on a bit. To give you an idea. So, who are these brothers and sisters that we just heard about in the text, and you can read about in other places as well? Well, there are 3 opinions. One was St. Jerome, who said, in that culture, close relatives can be called brother and sister. And that's true. But then they all say, well, notice closely. Isn't this the son of Mary? You never do that in a Semitic culture. Son of Joseph. And Luke says he was thought to be the son of Joseph. There's something going on there. This is Mary's son. Not Joseph's previous wife's children. See? It's Mary's son. So, then there's the opinion that Helvidius had, that she, was a virgin giving birth to Christ, but then she had other children. Then you have Jerome, I've already talked about that, and then Epiphanius, who's the opinion that is the most solid. And it's great, isn't it, that we're so dumb we can't figure this out? I mean, it's great. So, the best article, and I'm going to recommend it if you can get it on your internet, it's by a man by the name of Richard Bauckham, B-A-U-C-K-H-A-M. B-A-U-C-K-H-A-M. So if you Google Richard Bauckham, B-A-U-C-K-H-A-M, I know they probably sent people scurrying for pencils, but I want to, and he has a beautiful job, and he finally comes down, I think, on the right one, that Joseph did have other children by a previous marriage. And if you really want to, I mean, there's a beautiful article, you can read the whole thing about who are these Salome and all these people at the grave, at the sepulcher at the end. Who are they? You see? And all the family of Jesus, which was large and had a lot to do. They're still around, Some of the relatives of Jesus, they're up there in Shepharim, just north of Haifa. I mean, they're a couple thousand years removed, but they're in the line of Jesus' family. That's God's family. Incarnation, you see what I mean? It's real. So this other account, which I think is the best and well spelled out by Professor Bauckham, who I think is an Anglican, or an evangelical, or maybe both an evangelical Anglican, but he does a beautiful job on this. This is the most likely. And that's easy to understand, because that's the way they speak, you see. And so, that's why the church, which cannot be deceived for 2,000 years, holds that Mary is always a virgin. And yet, the mother of God and our mother. And so, that's important. As I say, there are very weighty studies done. Most of them are summed up in this one article. I better give you the name again, huh? It's Richard Bauckham, and the article is called The Relatives of Jesus. And it's in a periodical called Themelios, Themelios, volume 21. That's January 1996. Not so distant, it's only 16 years old. It's a very solid, summed up article of working your way through 2,000 years of trying to work this out. And that seems to be the answer. And so Mary had sisters-in-law. Mary had cousins. So did Jesus. Isn't that beautiful? He became a real human being out of love for us. And it's that frail humanity, related to all kinds of people, that he gave up on the cross to save us and to give us eternal life. Amen.